Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. Welcome to a very, very, very special edition of Visionaries and Truth Tellers. I am the host, producer, the madman behind all of these shenanigans. My special guest today is a pal of mine, a buddy, who has a brand new book, who I just recently, yes, wait a minute. Has a brand new book, folks, who actually I was doing some digging, rereading some of my notes, and I found out the book came out on April 15th, so tax day. Get those taxes in and get yourself some copies. We're not messing around.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So, Mr. Evans, say hello to the folks. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we're going to jump right in with questions and comments about the book. Take it away.
Well, Mr. Anthony Carter, thank you for having me back on your show. It is greatly appreciated, my friend. Let's see, I'm Wyatt O. Evans or Wyatt O'Brien Evans. I am a journalist. I am an author of the new, compelling, high octane, provocative novel in the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series called Shattered. Yes, 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 yes. Also, I'm a radio personality. The show is Wyatt. And also, too, I'm a subject matter expert for intimate partner violence and abuse, which is domestic violence and abuse within the LGBTQ community.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's jump right in and get started. So
Uh-oh.
I want to jump on something you mentioned that I wanted to ask you about. I know Shattered is a part of a series. So what
Right.
keeps pulling you back to these two gentlemen, Wes and Antonio? What keeps pulling you back?
Ah, very good question. Well, they're my babies. They're like within me, and I just feel I'm a great quality soap opera fan, particularly the nighttime soaps. And I believe that these two characters still have so much in them for people to know about and to understand. Um, so that's why I'm continuing to write about them. Their story is constantly evolving. It's very interesting. It's salient, and it really resonates with both LGBTQ plus and heterosexual audiences alike.
Okay, we're gonna keep it moving right along. Let's talk about my favorite character. And
Oh Lord.
I've read all of your series.
Oh Lord.
My favorite character, not the little pain in the ass kid, not him.
Oh, not Wasim. Not Wasim. No. Okay. Yeah.
But
Okay.
I want to talk about Auntie, Mrs. J, the housekeeper.
Oh.
This is my thinking, and you let me know whether or not I'm off the mark.
Okay.
I'm reading this, I'm rereading it, and I'm in my head, I'm seeing this as a series, right? I'm seeing it on Amazon Prime, where you run it a couple of seasons. So I'm putting that out there into the universe. And when I was, reading and looking at Auntie, Mrs. J, and I thought she could be a whole season, right? That's like just a whole story arc of her, particularly being an older Black woman
Right.
who's working with and around, I guess, non-closeted, uncloseted Black men, and what if she's older,
Right.
what has she seen? Like, what does she have to go through to be able to like adjust to that in her head? So I'm just putting it out there. So where did Auntie come from, Mrs. J? Let's hear about her. Tell the folks about her.
You know what? First of all, Anthony, I love you saying that. That gives me a lot to think about. Okay, Mrs. Frida Jackson. She is West. West is the Black, openly gay entrepreneur, celebrity rich. She is his housekeeper, his house manager. She's like a mother to him. Okay, so with Mrs. Frida Jackson is a composite of Florence from the Jeffersons, right? Florence didn't take any crap. She just said what was on her mind. She was real. You loved her. She was real. But she did have that softness to her when necessary, right? And then so we've got Florence, and then we also have Dorothy Dandridge, Lena Horne, the classic African American actresses from the 50s and the 60s that style, that grace, that panache, that poise. So it was like a composite of those three people. Yeah.
Okay. I like that you use one of my favorite words, panache. I haven't heard that one. I haven't heard that word in 30 years.
All right.
It is one of my favorites. So
I
yeah,
love that.
we love Mrs. J. So yeah, at some point when you're on Amazon Prime, um, they seem to be open to telling stories about different types of Black sexuality and Black sexual identity. There's a great show on now called Harlem, and one of the lead characters is this lesbian, and
Right.
she gets her own story, which a lot of times they put us in stories, and we're kind of the backdrop, or we're there for entertainment or for performances. You know what I mean? But not
I
really.
do.
We don't get to have a story, right? We don't get to have a. You could pluck us out, and the story wouldn't be any different, right?
It's like
Um,
being a prop.
yes, yeah.
Mhm.
Miss Angie needs her own show. I want to jump around a little bit.
Okay.
I know you and I have talked about mental health.
Right.
And when I was reading this book, I kept thinking about, I was very excited that here was somebody who was Black and gay, extremely masculine, very successful, very wealthy, but still
Okay.
grappling with, demons of the past, or grappling with mental health issues. My question to you is there a connection between getting mentally healthy or being mentally healthy and having success in the world and on the planet, whatever that success looks like?
Well, you see, first, that's a very good question. Let me start off by Shattered is getting strong and solid reviews across the board, and it resonates so strongly with both heterosexual and LGBTQ plus audiences because these characters are dealing with issues that everybody deals with, like you said, mental instability.
Mhm.
And you really have to, particularly if you are wealthy and you are a celebrity, you're famous, you're getting all of this attention, you really have to have it together up here. You really, really do. Because what happens is if you are not emotionally secure and stable, um, when you're at that status of wealth and power, the issues and the problems that you have are magnified and increased tenfold.
Mhm.
Because of all of the stresses that you were going to go through
Right.
having to deal with money and power. You know,
Okay. Okay. I will. I've heard that too. I've often heard that money doesn't like change you. It changes people around you, and it shows you more of who you are. Whoever. So if you are, for lack of a better term, not a very nice person in general,
right?
then now you just got a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of people who will do your bidding, who won't
Right.
tell you when you're out of order, when you're out of
Exactly.
line. Okay,
Exactly.
okay. Let's
Yeah,
talk
they won't tell
about
you the real deal.
right, and that's tough. That's tough
That
because
is.
you need somebody to say, no, you're not going to do that," or
Well, you
um,
see,
go on.
Frida Jackson tells Wes and his partner Tonio the real deal. So she's like
Right.
this voice of reason. She
Mhm.
keeps them grounded.
Um, and that's probably why I really resonated with her, because it sounds to me, it's one of the things that happens is, um, as you go out in the world and start doing whatever your mission is, your calling is, this go round, right? You start doing it. Depending on how far you go with it, and depending on how things line up, you will get more eyes on you and more attention, right?
Right.
And it's very easy to fall into the trap of believing, your own reviews, and believing the hype about how wonderful you are, right? So
Exactly.
I think when I see people like Mrs. Jackson, when I see people like my grandmother, who's 97, who'll tell you in a minute, she was like, "Oh, that and people will be jumping up and down about something that's ridiculous, right?" And they'll be all worked up, and she'll cut right through. She's like,
She
"No,
cuts right
that
through the crowd.
right through the nonsense," and everybody's, they don't know whether or not, well, do I say something? Do I not? but you know, and I think that's part of being older, part of having seen a lot of, you know, you as you get older, you see things come and go, you see trends come and go, right? And
Right.
you have to keep, like you said, you have to keep um almost like forcing yourself to stay very planted and very just like you said, remembering who you are and what's important.
Mm-hmm.
Because the world will, they'll dangle all the stuff in front of you and you look up, you'll be way over here doing something you got no business doing. So, okay,
Absolutely.
well, thank you, Mrs. J. Okay, let's talk a little bit about. I was really also really struck by the whole concept of um, the father-son relationship,
Yes.
what that looks like, and I think it's
Yes.
particularly that struck me too because I think as a black gay man, um,
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely see the relationship with my dad how it's changed over the years.
Right.
Some ways it's not gonna change, right? Some ways it has, some way, and it's always interesting. You kind of like stumble onto what the relationship is gonna look like or what it's going to evolve into. So
Mm-hmm.
my question to you about that is, well, I'll let you talk to us a little bit about the importance of father-son relationships and what do you think they will allow or what do you think they won't allow?
Well, you know, that writing about the contentious dynamic between West, again, the openly gay black celebrity, and Wasim, the son that he never knew existed. Wasim is also a homophobe. That really was very, it was both difficult for me to write and also in the most enjoyable because my dad died when I was like 5 years old. I never knew him. So I always hungered to have a father. And I don't have any kids. So I sometimes reflect on what it would be like to have a kid. So anyway, you know, when you're writing a novel, when you're writing fiction, you've got to create drama and you've got to create tension. So I said to myself, what if Wes back in the day in his 20s tried to be wouldn't acknowledge his gayness, decided to have a relationship with a woman, and he got her pregnant, but he didn't know about it because she found out that he was bisexual and she left him out of spite, not letting him know that she was pregnant. So anyway, Wasim, Wes's son, doesn't know any of that. He believes that Wes, his father, abandoned his mother when she was pregnant. So he's a homophobe and he is trying to destroy the relationship between Wes, Antonio, his partner. And as you know, the boy is hell bent on destroying them. He's manipulative, he's devious. It was fun to write, it was difficult to write, but it was enjoyable to write because I was creating quality, soapy goodness and tension and drama. And y'all got to read it to find out what the hell happened.
Yeah. Yes. We'll move on. We will move on. You always talk about being like me when you grow up. I'm gonna be like you. I'm gonna get me a hit book, and I'm and Amazon Prime is gonna come a call, and there it is, folks. Um, so something else that struck me too. I'm always interested in things and names of things and naming things. So I think that's super important.
Mhm.
One of the things I learned over the years, I used to write essays, books, plays, whatever, and then come up with the name of it when it was done.
Ah,
And I had a certain, and I that worked on a certain level. And then I started recently flipping it. And I would say the last couple of years where I would come up with a title or I'd name it first, right? I'd give it a label, and that would force me to hone in on just whatever that thing was. So
right.
it kept a lot of the it was still some exploration, but it was an exploration in a deeper way on one particular thing. So my
Okay.
question to you, or my observation, if you will, is I love the name Shattered. And what would you say to someone if they said, how significant is it? Well, two parts. How
Mhm.
significant is it for us to periodically shatter ourselves, our beliefs, the identities that we have, and how do you put the pieces back together? So I think everybody is struggling with how do you put stuff back together.
Mr. Carter, you have some very good questions. Damn. Um, I think we have to shatter ourselves, so to speak, ever so often in our lives because we're constantly evolving and we need to change and we need to look at ourselves introspectively, analyze ourselves and say, for example, is this working for me? Is
Okay.
this particular behavior working for me? Is this particular skin that I'm in working for me? And if it's not, we need to split it up. We need to shatter it. We need to just get rid of it and rebuild and become reborn. That's the only way that we can grow. So for me, the reasons why I created the title was because of that. And also, too, you've got Wesley, who, due to emotional trauma, splits into a alternate personality called Walker. His polar opposite, Walker, is deadly, just totally different from Wes. So Shattered also denotes that, and Shattered also denotes Wasim the son trying to shatter the relationship
Mm-hmm.
between Wes and Tonio to get back at Wes.
Mm-hmm.
So the title encompasses various components.
Okay. Um, I'm thinking, when I hear, I remember reading that too in the book about the, he'd see this reflection and it was almost like his alter ego or his dark side, right? And I often wonder, I've heard different, and I want to hear your opinion on this. I've heard different schools of thought on. Some people say get rid of the dark side, right? Get you some therapy, drugs, whatever, and just maintain that, legal and illegal, whatever. Do whatever you need to do to manage, eliminate, destroy that side of you. Some people say bring that side in and incorporate it because that that is a part of you, and that's my question to you would be, because I've seen it work both ways, right? Um, some people need to bury that.
True. Okay.
Get whatever you need to take because that runs the show. Yeah, that because many people that darkness runs the show, right? All the time. That's their go-to. They don't know any. It's almost like that is the personality, right? So my question to you is, what is your take on that? Do we need to squelch that? Do we need to bring those two entities together to make them work as one? What is your take on that?
Well, for example, when you talk about the psychological disorder of splitting, becoming a different personality, like, for example, All About Eve, what I did was it's called, when you split into another personality, it's called DID, dissociative disorder identity.
Mm-hmm.
No, dissociative identity disorder. So what I did was to prepare to write this, I actually had sessions with a psychiatrist to make sure that I was writing this properly.
Mm-hmm.
So with that disorder, the person has to go through therapy, and that's in the book, in the novel Shattered. Wes goes through months of therapy so that he can merge both personalities.
Okay.
But Wes, the dominant personality, remains dominant. Walker, the alternate, is melded and blended into Wes so that Wes can be sane again. But he is recognizing and embracing the good pieces of Walker, the alternate personality. Now, if you're not splitting into another personality and just have like issues with like depression or other um, emotional issues, I'm a strong proponent of therapy. I really, really am, to work those issues out, to embrace those issues, resolve those issues, become healthy so that you can be fully integrated, if you understand what
Mhm.
if I'm making sense.
Yes, yes. You're not saying you lock away that personality in a box. You say
No,
you examine it, you look at it, and you figure out a way, because probably that side is what helps you survive. Whatever, whatever,
absolutely.
whatever the stuff was, it does, it one of the things that I like to say, let's see. Uh-oh. Hold on. Okay, we got a few more minutes. Told you Zoom is playing no games these
They
days.
don't play. They don't play. They don't
But
play.
one of the things I like to say about the type of thing is that there have been times when I've had to pull on something else and I say pull on something else, pull on another part of me that wasn't afraid of there was something going on. I needed to face it or I needed to move through something. And you like to call it pluck. So,
Yes, I do.
but
Yes.
and that's a less scientific term, but there are times when you have to dig a little deeper, right? And what I find is that when I dig a little deeper, that is usually into whatever that darkness is. Because that darkness wants what it wants. It's like a kid. It's like a spoiled child. It wants what it wants right then, and it's not going to stop till it gets it. So a lot of
Right.
times I've found that when when I'm feeling like a little reticent about doing something, or like, oh, I don't know if I should do, it's like that's what I tap into. That's why I brought up that question about integrating the two.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I think I've got one or two more before
Hmm.
Zoom does what it does.
Yeah.
One of the things that I also saw, and I see this a lot, I've seen this with other writing, particularly around LGBT stories, plays, movies,
Hmm.
um, with folks of color.
Right.
Um, I often wonder if when you are successful as a character is in the book, right? One of the things that being successful and having a lot of money and not having money concerns will allow you to do is to have access to a lot of resources,
Hmm.
right? So you can go to a good therapist. You can go, if you want to go somewhere, if you want to go off, I think one of them went off for a while, right? You can do that. So
Hmm.
um, I guess my question or my observation is always about when you have folks that are not in that socioeconomic setup, right?
Hmm.
So just average run of the mill working folks, right? Just punching the clock.
Right.
How what would you tell them? Because just because you don't have access to something doesn't mean you don't need it and doesn't mean it's
Absolutely.
a necessity. So what would you tell them? So if there were two people who were, I don't know, two truck drivers or two whatever who were just regular working Joes, what would you tell them?
Well, you have too many people who know they have emotional issues.
Mm-hmm.
They know it, but they don't want to get help. Now, if you, for example, are working a job and you have benefits,
Mm-hmm.
avail yourself of those benefits. Go to your counselor and say, do I have any psychological benefits? Because sometimes you do, but then sometimes you might have to pay an additional fee for that. So if you have those benefits, definitely avail yourself of of shrink, a psychologist, that sort of thing. Now, for example, if you're not working, that can pose a problem. What you're going to have to do is do your research and find free services to help you. But the bottom line is you really have to, some way or another, take care of it. You must feel better so that you can heal and function as a whole healthy individual. And the first thing is to accept that you need help, because a lot of people do have health benefits that would give them access to mental and emotional, therapy, but they don't want to do it.
Okay.
And I get it, because it can be scary.
Okay. Well, I agree. But yeah, that's priority number one. And that
Mm-hmm.
seems to be, and it's been a priority. I was talking about it 30 years ago, and people told me it was, no, not a priority. I was talking about mental health, particularly among Black gay men or Black SGL men. I was talking about it in 91, 92.
Yes, you were.
Could
I
not
know.
get folks to, they couldn't hear it. They couldn't hear it.
Don't want to hear it.
And now it's the big, it's the big buzzword. It's on everybody's lips. So hopefully in 30 years, we've realized that it's not just something to talk about, it's something to do, right?
Absolutely.
And it's something to be about, as they say. All right. Well, I will wrap us up here. Hold your book up so we can see it and tell folks where you can buy it.
You can buy this at Amazon.com or go to WyattEvans.com for more details. And oh, next Saturday, April 29th, is the official launch party. The official launch party for Shattered. It's virtual next Saturday. I'll have details all across social media. You'll be able to view it at my YouTube channel, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, also on Twitter.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. As usual, it's a pleasure. It's been fun. It's been enlightening. Um, I'm putting it out there that this book is going to be a big hit and shoot right to the top of the Amazon bestsellers list, and Amazon Prime will come a calling and say, "Hey, we don't have a story like this on our roster yet. And you can hire me as a screenwriter and a producer."
Listen, that's a deal. Nope, no doubt about it.
All right. I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.